Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. The topic over the last 40 to 44 days since the lockdown, we had an opportunity to study such Vedantic sessions every evening for about 44 classes. Somebody has remarked that this is almost like 1 year satsang. With 52 weeks in a year, we may not be able to attend all the weeks. So we had opportunity in these last 40 odd days to go through 1 year of Vedantic satsang. We've been able to study almost 7 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the Mundaka Upanishad, the Ishavasya Upanishad, and a little bit of Taittiriya Upanishad. Now, today my topic is what I would call practical Vedanta. How do I know if Vedanta has made any difference to me? Is it just information, or is there been some transformation? There was a real story in the life of Swami Chinmayananda when a student comes to Swamiji and says, Swamiji, I've gone through the Bhagavad Gita and so many Upanishads. Swamiji said, very good that you have gone through so many Upanishads, but how many Upanishads have gone through you? That is a question that we need to ask. In what way is there an inventory that we can do, a self-inventory? Swamiji has given us 3 of these. When in our question answer session, it was asked, you don't conduct any tests for us. How do I know that I am in the spiritual path? How do I know it has worked for me? One very nice self-inventory is called the FIR. FIR is how frequently I lose my equilibrium, how frequently I get very angry, I get very upset or depressed. If I can have a personal inventory of frequency. I stands for intensity. On my slides, you'll see intensity is classified as level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is the earliest mild, when I have a mental upset, but you will not see it at all. Only I will know I'm upset, but I'm able to conceal it. Level 2, when the intensity becomes more, you will see it in my voice. My volume has changed, my pitch has changed. Level 3, you will see my whole bodily reaction. And R stands for recovery. How quickly I'm able to recover. This is a very useful personal inventory. Another nice thing that Swamiji has told in one of his talks, or whenever I hear bad news, the first reaction is what? But with all the mental priming that I have gone through the Gita and the Upanishads, I'm able to silently tell myself, I'm able to handle it. So what? And the third, which Swamiji has recommended, is the Sthita Prajna portion of the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna asks a question, how does a person who's spiritually wise, how does he conduct his life? Very beautifully given from verses 54 to 72. And as these are standard, I'm not going to touch on them. These are always available to us. So the rest of my class is a quick recap of many things that we already know, and to see what is the difference between knowledge and the application of knowledge. To know and not to be able to apply what you know is as good as I do not know. Vedanta has good news. What is the good news? You are already that. If I'm already that, what should I do? There is nothing to do. Where do I go for further studies? There is nowhere to go. So what Vedanta says, there is nothing to do. There is nowhere to go. Why? Because you are already that. But then we always say, if I'm already that, I don't experience anything. I'm still a very ordinary person. So the teachers say there are 3 blocks. Although you are Brahman, you are already that, there are 3 blocks. Now, the diagnosis is made in the mind. I suffer, or I have all forms of limitations once I wake up. When I'm fast asleep, I am Purnamada Purnamidam, there is no limitations. I am Ananda Paramananda. The moment I wake up or I have a bad dream, my mind becomes partially or fully awakened. So the diagnosis of the problem is in the mind. And they say the blocks are occur in the mind. And the teachers say our mind has got an impurity called mala. The primary mala is called kama. When I see something nice, my mind wants it, and my mind wants it so badly. And then comes a flowchart of kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya. And therefore, this is the first impurity that has been diagnosed. Second, that we discussed very recently in the 6th chapter, where Arjuna asks Sri Krishna, Chanchala manaha, my mind is wandering. My mind is, incapable of focusing my mind where the treasure is. My mind is always looking outside. So the second problem about the mind is it is restless. I'm not able to focus it. The third problem about my mind is because the mind is the only instrument that I have to know about myself, my mind is ignorant of the fact that I am Parabrahma Paramatma. The teachers give 3 solutions or 3 sadhanas of which we are well experts in. It is called Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. I will still go through these very briefly. It is only for us to mentally recap, especially the Karma Yoga part, which we have studied so thoroughly in our recent chapters. What is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is a science, as a technology where I transfer all my actions that I have to do day in and day out into a yoga. I make my actions an act of devotion, and I make them sattvic. I make them more selfless. I do all the actions I'm supposed to do, whether I like it or not. This is called right action. Karma Yoga involves right attitude, which is called Ishwararpana Bhava. Even as I'm making this presentation, if I can say this is an act of as an expression of my love for God, even as I treat patients, I treat as if my patient is God. That is called Ishwararpana Bhava. Now, what is the feedback that I get? I may be appreciated, I may not be appreciated. If I'm able to have a certain equanimity on how I accept the outcome of my work, and that is called Prasada Bhava. So Karma Yoga is right action, right attitude, where you do all your action as a yajna, as an offering. Then we know something which came to us in the 4th chapter and also in the 5th chapter, but the hint was given to us in the 2nd chapter in a very beautiful verse which says, Buddhi yukto jahatita ube sukruta duskrute tasmad yogaha yudhyasya yogaha karmasu kausalam. This came in the 2nd chapter. What this verse said really is, if you are skilled in karma as yoga, that means your real daily actions has now become a yoga. You develop a certain skill. What is a skill? I work in such a way that I do not generate punya or papa. And that is through Ishwararpana Bhava, through Prasada Bhava. And this is the pinnacle of yoga and what is called in the 4th chapter, both nicely done, verse 24 onwards, 18 to 24, where you brought in inaction in action. That is the whole science of Karma Yoga. If I transfer my action, that means I do my Pancha Mahayajna, I do a lot of selfless activities, I'm able to hopefully work on that impurity in my mind, the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, the strong likes and strong dislike cycle. Now, as I said, I'm talking about transferring knowledge into wisdom. That means unless I do these forms of sadhanas, all my Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad is going to be more and more knowledge. It is not going to be transferred. My daily exercises, in addition to Karma Yoga I have to do. Karma has now become yoga. Can I take some time off for Upasana? The teachers say, whoever is your Ishta Devata, it may be Shiva or Rama, spend some time in mantra japa like Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Namah Shivaya. And can this be few minutes so that you have greater control? These sadhanas are so important that your mind now becomes more under your control. Another important upasana sadhana that I would recommend is, we have studied so many verses of the Bhagavad Gita, and then there are some verses which appeal to you more. take them as my favorite verses from the Gita and the Upanishads. Like, for instance, I would say, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidanti dhananjaya, my sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. Now, very meaningfully repeat these mantras 100 times. And then there are certain lines like, my sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva, my sarvam idam protam. Then you hang on to one word or one line. Let that become a laya, let that become an absorption, and that becomes a second type of upasana. There is a third type of dhyana where I become absolutely focused on myself. I am no longer interested in any object of meditation. There is no mantra. I now become aware of the subject me, either with open eyes or with closed eyes. And this is form of dhyana. This is various forms of upasana. Upasana makes me a greater control on my mind, and my mind is now available to be able to apply all that I have studied. Then I get, with all these two sadhanas, I get jnana yogyata. Very fortunately today, our teachers are not far away. Our teachers are available on YouTube or on our computer. Spare 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever time available, exclusively for Shravana. You and your teacher get into your position and put one Bhagavad Gita talk or one Upanishad talk for about 1 hour or half an hour. When you are fully available to the Guru, like you are listening right now, where I listen to the teacher, systematic and consistent listening to Vedantic scriptures for a length of time, that is Shravana. Doubts will occur. Then through study groups or through satsang, clarify the doubt, because this knowledge I will be able to digest or consume only if it is doubt-free knowledge. And then there is another beautiful form of meditation which is called nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is when, I had a transition from being a resident to a consultant in Nimans. I was a resident for many years, more than 5-6 years. Suddenly you become a consultant. Your role has changed. When your role changes, you still have the old behavior of a resident. When my head of the department had to call me and say, from now on, you have to act and behave like a consultant. Now, this transition from jnanam to jnana nishta comes through a process of nididhyasana, where you need to repeatedly tell yourself, I am nityaha, I am shuddhaha, I am buddhaha, I am muktaha, I am shivaha, shivoham. And this, if it is done over a period of time, slowly the dawn, and you will begin to act like Brahmavid apnoti param, because all these processes take a certain time. Friends, we are now working on what are the blocks between jnanam and jnana nishta. We have addressed many of them. Can we look into some more? And these come from the whole topic of sadhana chatustaya sampanna, particularly the topic of shama and dhamma. I've already touched on them, of how I'm able to control my sense organs and my mind. Let us look into what we have already studied, the Ashtanga Yoga, Yama and Niyama. What does Yama say? Yama has 5 principles. Can I have ahimsa, thought, word and deed? Asteyam, asatyam, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Not only in thought, in word and in deed. In addition to Yama, our mind needs something called niyama. Niyama means something that has to be done regularly every day. Saucham means cleanliness of my body and mind. Santosham, a level of contentment. Tapaha, a certain discipline which we are being non-compromising. For instance, how much I sleep, when do I wake up, when do I eat food, whether I eat food in between, whether I'm able to fast. This is called tapaha. Swadhyaya is my spiritual study, and Ishvara pranidhanam, that every action that I do, I offer it to God. Now, if we are able to do this much, I think we have achieved a great degree of sadhana. And then Swamiji has shown us that the Paramarthika is symbolized by the Omkara. Now, if I have to reach the Paramarthika, there is one big V that I have to work on. And you know what is that V? The V is the Vasanas. The Vasanas is a mental programming that has occurred not only in this lifetime, but sometimes in the previous lifetime. Therefore, my Vasanas can be extremely strong. Fortunately, we have a lot of Shubha Vasanas. These Shubha Vasanas have brought us to spirituality. It keeps us on the path. Unfortunately, many of us in this life and in past life have acquired certain vasanas which are ashubha vasanas, and that can pull us down. The word Hindu means Hinam Nashayate iti Hindu. Hinam means a Hindu is able to destroy that which keeps him low. What keeps me low is my ashubha vasana. I need very, very strong methodologies, because there is Daivi Sampat, there is a lot of Asuri Sampat. While talking about 16th chapter of the Gita, Swami Param has given a very strong 5-point formula, because unless we work on that 5-point formula, which I have mentioned before, and that is called Viveka. Viveka means these Ashubha Vasanas can pull me down. I will be a yoga brashta again in this life if I'm not able to work on them. And therefore, I need to treat it like cyanide, which can destroy me. And using Viveka and Sankalpa, I make a resolve that I'm not going towards it. There is something called Pratipaksha Bhavana. If I go in that direction, I got caught in the trap. So I work in the opposite direction. Then you can be helped by Prarthana and Satsanga. And through these 5 methods, we have got a lot of sadhanas which can help us to transform from Jnanam to Jnana Nishta. And that is where our problem is. For the rest of my talk, I will be touching on 3 aspects of Jnana to Jnana Nishta, which is not normally discussed in our Shastras. The first is called the law of karma. Fortunately, we have finished the 7th chapter. We've really completed the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We are left with just 2 verses. Krishna is a great trickster, if I can use that word. He has actually completed the 7th chapter, I think in verse 28, in what we did in the last class. Suddenly, from nowhere, he introduces 6 technical terms. If you will remember, the 6th chapter began directly by Shri Krishna telling Arjuna, I will introduce my higher self, my real self, which is para and apara. Instead of telling, if you study the 7th chapter, you will know what is para and apara, suddenly he introduces 6 technical topics. Now, the next few verses, what we are going to study is these technical topics. And the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita begins by Arjuna asking Shri Krishna, Lord, can you tell me what are these 6 topics that you have said? Kim tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatma, Kim Karma Purushottama. What is Adi Bhutam? What is Adi Daivam? And so on. Now, Arjuna is asking certain terms. And if you will see on this slide, I have highlighted the word karma. And the rest of my talk today will be focusing on karma. This karma has nothing to do with karma yoga that we have done. This karma has something to do with law of karma, which is dealt very much in this chapter alone. For a long time, I never considered the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita to be a great chapter. I thought this was an odd man out chapter. It talks about not sadhyo mukti, but it talks about krama mukti, a lot of death. To me, it looked like a negative chapter. But the more you study this chapter, right from the beginning, there is so much to learn. Now, focus on this word, karma. What is happening right now in the whole world? We are going through what is called a samashti prarabdha. I will give a little example. Now, whenever there is a loss of electricity in your house, what is the first thing that we do? We look around for the neighboring apartment or the neighboring houses to see if they have electricity. Now, if they have no electricity, then I have a sense, the problem is not mine alone. It is a samashti problem. Now, a samashti means a problem that affects beyond me. Now, the whole world is affected by a pandemic, which is affecting the health, physical and psychological which is health, affecting the economy, and we have never had such a samashti issue. Now, this is what this karma we are talking about. Now, whenever we are born, the karma paladata gives us what is called a prarabdha karma. The prarabdha karma is responsible for my body, whether I get a healthy body, whether I get a good family. That is my individual prarabdha. In addition to that, the computing device has to calculate not only my karma, but the world around me. This samashti world around me is that karma. We are going to, one of you will be explaining this verse, and you have to elaborate on what is this word karma. Karma, we are talking about not an individual karma. See, I am affected not only by my body, but I am affected by the world around me. And that is what Krishna is talking about in the beginning of this chapter. I would like to address the next word where Arjuna asks this question. What is this Adi Yajna? And then very strangely he asks a very funny question. He says, Katam ko kotra dehesmen madhusudana. Arjuna is asking Krishna, what is this Adi Yajna you mentioned? And then how did Arjuna know that Adi Yajna should reside in the body? So his question is very specific. Who is this fellow Adi Yajna, and where does he reside within the body? And after this question answer, Krishna has to answer. I think this is verse 4, where Krishna answers this question. Adi Yajno aham eva. I alone am this Adi Yajna. Atra dehe deha britam vara. I am the Adi Yajna, and I am that fellow who's residing within you. The question is, where within me? Is he residing in my liver or in my kidney or in my pancreas? Certainly not. He will be residing, Shri Krishna says he is residing in the headquarters, in the Antakaranam. In the Antakaranam means the mind, where he gets all the information. Why do we have Shri Krishna residing within us? Because Shri Krishna has to be the karma phala data. I may be doing an action. The karma phala for my action comes not from my action, but the motive with which I do my action. And that is why you need to have somebody who's sitting within you, and that Shri Krishna advises as Adi Yajna. We are going to study these verses, friends, but I would like you to pay a great attention, because this is the Shri Krishna principle. Now, who's sitting within us? There is a story that I have shared 100 times, and this is the story goes like this. A certain guru had 2 disciples, and he had to decide among the 2 of them who is going to succeed him. So he gives both of them an envelope, and then he tells them, I'll give you 24 hours time. And in these 24 hours, I want you to destroy this envelope, but destroy it in a place where there is nobody. Now, one person goes to a dark room, ensures there is nobody, and destroys that envelope, comes and reports to the teacher. The second person comes after 24 hours with the envelope intact, and he says, Guruji, you told me to destroy it in a place where there is nobody. I had a problem. Wherever I went, I was there. Can you feel the presence of a witness, someone else who is there within you? This is the Shri Krishna principle, the Adi Yajna that comes within you. And now let us enter into a new chapter called the law of karma, because if I understand the law of karma, I will be able to apply many of the Vedantic principles. What is karma? Karma now, from the context of law of karma, is both action and the consequence of action. What you sow is what you reap. If you sow good actions, you will result in punya. Bad actions cause papa. What does this mean? It means that I should be extremely conscious in every action that I do, because now, how do I decide now? I already told you, yogaha karmasu kausalam. Now, from now on, be a karma yogi, be that upper bird of the Mundaka Upanishad, or in the binary format, become the Paramarthika. When you are in the Paramarthika, then you will see that it is the lower fellow who does actions. You understand what is inaction, inaction. Even good actions are going to generate punya, and punya is going to be a shackle. It may be a golden shackle, but it is still a shackle. And through the law of karma, from now on, you know how you should act, and to be a very conscious action in every decision you make. See that, can I allow the upper bird or the higher self in me to do these actions? According to the law of karma, there are three types of karma. One, they are called sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, and agami karma. We know them, but let us just quickly review them. All the punya and papa karmas which have accumulated in the past janmas are called sanchita. Sanchita means accumulated. From that accumulated portion, part of it has fructified or matured. And that matured part is given when I was born as a combination of punya and papa, and that is responsible for my physical body and the world around me. That is called the samashti and the vyashti prarabdha. As human beings, we do a lot of deliberate actions which will further generate punya and papa, and these are called agami karma. So we have studied what is sanchita, what is agami, and what is prarabdha. Now we know that karma yoga has nothing to do with the law of karma. So quickly, let us see what is the importance of the laws of karma, what are the principles of the law of karma, what are the advantages of knowing the laws of karma. Why should we know of the law of karma? This is a very important Vedantic teaching, because if you know this, then you will know how you can attain to Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti, and what is Sadhyo Mukti, Kramo Mukti, and so on. Now, it also gives you the principles of freedom from the cycle of birth and rebirth. First, every action that I do will generate two forms of results. It can produce a visible result or an invisible result. For example, during this difficult times, there are many people like Madhusudan and Venkatesh Prasad have a charitable organization. They said, we would like to enhance our activities. So some of us decide to contribute. Now I decide to make a certain contribution to that charitable fund. So I write out a check. Visibly, what has happened, I get a message from the bank that so much money has been deducted and it has been transferred to the other account. This is what happens visibly. Invisibly, what happens, according to the karma, a certain amount of karma pala or punya or something is accrued to this account. So every action produces a visible effect and an invisible effect, which is called adrishta. Adrishta can be punya or adrishta can be papa. That is, the papa adrishtas are called duradrishta. When does an action become a punyam or papam? If I do in accordance to scriptural injunctions, I acquire punya. If I do it against the scriptural injunction, it becomes papa. More importantly, it is not the action, it is the motive behind the action that decides punya or papa. Let me summarize the law of karma so that what we will now decide is, I'm going to be a conscious choice maker. I'm not going to do more punya or papa. I will function from my higher self so that I'm not going to incur more agami karma. So the accumulated karmas of my past birth are called, if you can mentally answer, it is called sanchita. That which is fructified and available for the physical body is called prarabdha. In this life, I do acquire more punya and papa, and that is called agami. Some of this agami is added to this life, some of them will be added to the cloud data, and that goes back to the sanchita. This is how the cycle of the law of karma. Now, how do I know that I have understood Vedanta? How I know I have understood applied the law of karma in my life? In daily life, you see a lot of disparity. Some people are so well blessed, some people are not so blessed. Then this is because of the law of karma. Now, second and very important, I take responsibility for my own actions. My today is a product of my yesterday. My tomorrow is a product of today. I will be responsible for all the actions that I will do. Third is my faith in God is not shaken because now I am responsible for my own actions. I don't blame God or anybody for my actions. More importantly, I take charge of my life. I am responsible for my life. I am also able to answer this question, why is that good people in this world suffer and bad people are having a great time? The answer is very simple. The good people are suffering because of bad punyas in the past, and the bad people who have had punya in the past are enjoying those now. Finally, this is very important. How do I accept and make the most of my prarabdha? The prarabdha is one thing that we have to live through. There is nothing that can do about my prarabdha except to cheerfully handle it. Now, it talks about spiritual leadership. What is this spiritual leadership? Sometimes in an organization, you will see the leader of the organization will take responsibility for a wrong act done by somebody else. Somebody in my team might have done something wrong, and I have to take responsibility squarely. We would have known how Lal Bahadur Shastri resigned when there was a railway accident. Now, this is what is called leadership. And true leadership is, I do not know when in my past life or in my uh, past would have done such terrible action that why I'm suffering like this. But I take on that leadership. I take responsibility. I'm not going to complain. I use this for a certain spiritual growth. And I know on a long run that all will be well. And for this, I have to anchor from my higher self. And that is how I be able to accept my prarabdha, which, believe me, is extremely difficult. That is why we need all our spiritual inputs to be able to handle prarabdha. We know about the agami karma. 100 times I have told you, buddhi yukto jahatita, yoga karmasu kausala. Skill in action is inaction in action. And thereby I transfer all my actions into a yoga, and therefore I avoid doing any further agami. In the 4th chapter, we recently studied how to destroy the sanchita karma through jnana agni, through the fire of knowledge. Sarva karmani basmasat kurute tata. Krishna in more than one verse clearly tells you, you don't have to worry about that huge cloud data of punya and papa. You have to acquire jnanam in this life. And jnanam has got tremendous amount of radiation power that destroys that. We talk about the roasted seed, and recently we studied about the Sufis, about Jalaluddin Rumi, who spoke about 3 words of his whole life. I was raw, now I am cooked and burnt. I was raw, now I am cooked and burnt. And therefore, get jnanam in this life, burn all the sanchita karma, and therefore there is no punarjanma. The next shift that I'm going to talk to you is very central in Vedanta, Brahma satyam, jagan mithya, which came to us very nicely in Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahmananda Valli. Opening verse is what can I say? Is an extraordinary verse which says, Brahmavid apnoti param. The knower of Brahman, the knower of Brahma Vidya becomes Brahman. It is elaborated as, my real nature is satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nitam guhaya parame yoman soshnute. The benefit is all my desires are full at one stroke. Meditate on these verses. We have studied these verses, and slowly these verses should generate dividends to us. There is this beautiful mantra which says, Om Purnamada Purnamidam. I am Purna. And if you meditate on these verses over a period of time, it must give us dividends. This is the same as Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. The pinnacle of Vedantic teaching. Swami Param has given us 5 capsules which we have to internalize. Meditate on these words. I am of the nature of eternal and all-pervading consciousness. Body mind is only incidental. I am the only and permanent source of peace, security, and happiness. By my mere presence, I give life to this material body and experience the material world. Very importantly, I'm never affected by any event that happens in the material world or anything that happens to my material body. By forgetting my real nature, I convert my life into a samsara or struggle. By remembering my real nature, I convert my life into an entertainment or leela. How beautiful. I wish this would retain into us. There is a beautiful poem which I would like to share with you. It says, I have never made a fortune and it is probably too late now, but I don't worry about that much. I'm happy anyhow. As I go along life's ways, I'm reaping better than I sowed. I'm drinking from my saucer cause my cup has overflowed. Vedanta, if it has really lived, our life should be an overflow. My heart is so full of joy. My cup of joy has overflowed. I'm no longer a beggar looking for happiness in others, but I have so much to give. There is a beautiful poem from Rabindranath Tagore, which says, give up that beggarness, the beggar in you. I will read. I had gone a begging from door to door in the village path, when thy golden chariot appeared in the distance like a gorgeous dream. And I wondered who was this king of all kings. My hopes rose high, and I thought my evil days were come to an end. I stood waiting for alms to be given unasked and for wealth to be scattered on all sides in the dust. The chariot stopped where I stood. Thy glance fell on me. Now you came down with a smile. I felt the luck of my life had come at last. And then what happened? You held out thy right hand and said, what is that you have to give? Oh, what a kingly jest it was to open thy palm to a beggar to beg. I was confused. I stood undecided. And then from my wallet, I slowly took out the least little grain, because what can I give the king of all kings? But how great was my surprise when, at the end of my day, I emptied my bag on the floor to find the least little gram of gold among my poor heap. I wept bitterly and I wished I had the heart to give thee my all. These things are going to be a thing of the past when Vedanta, when Brahma Vid Apnoti Param happens. The cup of joy has overflowed and I will have. When you experience Purnatvam, what happens? You understand what is Atman Evatmana Tushtaha. I move from need love to gift love, and I have that abundance mentality. Buddha, in one of his sutras, had said there are 20 difficult things to attain or to accomplish. And the first, he said, is very difficult for the poor to give in charity. What is he talking about? Who can give? Only someone who has, not just has, but has in abundance and has the heart to give. So who can give is one who feels blessed, one who feels. Recently, we had this pandemic where, Madhu, Venkatesh Prasad were able to create a charity to be able to help. And closer to home, Pallavi and Neeta were able to start poor feeding, and also Dr. Murthy and others. Now, this snowballed into a big thing. This is how, when you feel you are blessed, charity you are able to practice. And this is practical Vedanta. When you experience abundance, and then you're not going to keep that abundance in yourself. You share your abundance. You share your love. You share your possessions. You share your knowledge. You share your skill. Why? Because now you have so much to give. This is what brings about transformation. Transformation has been very rightly said is transcending form. Any form is limitation. My body mind is limited, but when I understand what transformation is, I shift from my limited body mind to the binary format, which is the upper bird or my higher self. And once I understand that, I realize I have no need to prove myself to anybody. Sometimes so much of our effort is expended in trying to prove who we are. This proving game comes to an end. I no longer have to do this. And sometimes when there are some arguments, I say, yes, I just accept it, because now there is no need to get into. There are two stories I would like to share. It was a story of a man who thought he was a worm. And because he thought he was a worm, he was not able to go outside because every bird he thought will come and kill him. So he had to go to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist spent a lot of time treating him. And after some time, the psychiatrist convinced him that he is no longer a bird, but no longer a worm, but a human being. And once he was convinced, he left the doctor's clinic. But the moment he came out, he saw a bird outside. Suddenly, he got alarmed and he came running back. And he told the psychiatrist, "Doctor, I know who I am, but does that bird know? Why don't you tell that bird that I am no longer a worm?" The teaching is, whole of Vedanta is not for others. The whole of Vedantic teaching is for ourselves. If I know who I am, that is more than enough. There is a beautiful Sufi saint who travels from one desert to another. He comes to an oasis where a rich man is giving a banquet. He's so hungry, he goes to the rich man, hoping that he gets some food. The rich man looks at the Sufi and says, "But I don't know who you are." But the saint says, "I know myself." And then he reflected how unfortunate it would have been if the whole world knows me, but I do not know myself. Transformation means knowing who you are, and you don't need that anybody else needs to know. True transformation is getting to know myself, and that is more than enough. The last part of my talk is the most painful talk, and this is about jagan mithya. If I know what is Brahma satyam, I have to slowly neutralize or devalue everything that comes in relation to my body. What is that comes in relation to my body? My near and dear ones, my family, my possessions, which I cherish, my bank balance, my own skills, my own body, my own health. As we get older, we realize, how the health and my appearance and one by one keeps going away. There is this beautiful story of Rabia, which I shared when Rabia lost both her sons due to a lightning strike, and the bodies of her sons were brought home. She requested the people to keep it in an inner room because she wanted to handle her husband. She was a great saint. She was able to accept it. She did not know how her husband is going to handle the death of two 18-year-old boys who died suddenly. Her husband, when he came home, she fed him. And then she made this message, which I want you to internalize, which to me is a very, very powerful Vedantic message. She said, many years ago, something happened which I have not been able to share with you. A great saint came home. He was on the way to Mecca. He gave me something of great value, which he told me to keep it in my custody. 18 years have passed. Now the saint has come back. Now I have to give it back to him. And I'm so attached to that which he has given me. What should I do? The husband said, see, when a saint gives you something of great value, you are only the custodian of that. However much you love it, you remember this. There is a time when you are only a custodian, you have to give it back. Give it back very cheerfully. He has given it to you for 18 years. And with this frame of mind, she was able to show the door, open the door and show the bodies of the two sons. Friends, very painful, but we need to realize while all our near and dear ones are with us, let us cherish and enjoy their presence. While I have good health and all my five senses and my physical body, let me cherish my well-being. While there is a certain amount of wealth and a certain amount of possessions, let us cherish. But let us know each of them come with a date of expiry. And when the person, Karma Phala Data, asks me to return them, let me have that grace, because now whole of Vedanta says everything that you possess, including your body, is mithya. Friends, how do we prepare for that? Now, every morning we have this prayer. Every evening, let us make this prayer. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyahi pitam mukham tattvam pushanna pavranot satya dharmaya drishtaye. Pushane karase yama surya prajapatya yuva rasmin samoha tejaha yatte rupam kalyanatamam tatte pashyamaha Yo sahaso purushaha sohamasmi. This is my evening prayer, because every evening is an acceptance of your own death. When the body is going to be reduced to ashes, Vayur anilam amritam athadim basmantam shariram om kratosmaram kratagam smara kratosmara kratagam smara. And imagine getting into Agni naya supatarai asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan Yoyo Dvasmaja Juhuramaneno Bhushtantem Nama Uktim Videmaha. There is a beautiful prayer. Swami Param has beautifully explained this. There is Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha in this prayer. I have no time to explain, but just chanting this prayer, it is said to be, after the Gayatri Mantra, one of the most powerful prayer that helps you to detach yourself with your own body and all that you possess is the Maha Mrityunjaya Mantra. There is a beautiful verse which says, Yasmano dvijate loka, lokano dvijate chayaha. Live in this world in such a way that nothing is going to disturb you, and live in such a world way that you are not going to adversely affect the world. And this is proof of Vedanta in great life, in your real life. I will conclude with 3 verses which are, one joke that has been going on is that during this pandemic there is no take home message because you're already at home, but still I will give you a take home message. This is the take home message. 2nd chapter, 11th verse, the first teaching verse, which says, if there is any sadness at any time in your life, then you are not a Pandita from a spiritual angle. You have not understood. You have given too much importance to the material. Very, very powerful message. Whenever some sadness happens, remember the 11th verse. Then I will take you to the Charama Shloka. The Charama Shloka is one very powerful message. We have finished almost the 7th chapter. I do wish our Gita classes continue online. It may take 2 months or 3 months for us to come to the 18th chapter. And one day when we come to this chapter, I wish to ask Sundar to allot this mantra to me, because this is a very, very significant mantra which says, Sarva Dharman Parityagya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Now, this mantra, Swamiji has explained over many hours to give you the Vedantic significance. All this mantra says is, now, Sarva Dharman Parityagya. It is not giving up Dharma, but it is giving up karma. But we know we cannot give up karma. So what this mantra, Adi Shankara says, it is not giving up dharma, but it is giving up karma. How can you give up karma as body, mind? I cannot give up karma. But if I go to my paramarthika self and lodge there, then I have already given up my karma. So this verse says, log into the binary format and become the paramarthika self. And the moment you go there, all your papa is gone, and you will be able to attain to moksha. And the Lord says, if you are able to surrender to me, ma suchaha, there is no sorrow, there is no sadness. My last verse for this class is not going to be Purnamada, although I have brought in Purnama. I would like to emphasize another very, very powerful mantra, which I want you to make it your daily mantra. I have put it as my mantra on my desktop, which I'm going to each time I open my laptop, this is the mantra. I conclude my class today with this mantra, which says, Om Sahana Vavatu. That means the highest protection that you can have is Brahma Vidya. Om Sahana Bhunaktu. Let me enjoy Brahma Vidya. That means let me enjoy the state of Jivan Mukta. For this, let me put Prayatnam. Saha Viryam Karavavahe. Let me bank on my Meja Shakti. And let me work on Shraddha with my Guru and with my fellow beings. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I cannot help but bring in Sant Kabir. If spirituality has worked on you, you are going to be more and more silent. I will be more and more aware. I will be more and more loving. I will be more and more celebrated. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.